Hey everyone, I wanted to come on and talk to you about love and fear. And in a nutshell, it's important that we recognize that our emotions are usually tied to other emotions, and there's like a basic emotion. And the most emotions are tied to are two: love and fear. So most of our emotions are stemmed from those two, like original emotions, our feelings. And I wanted to talk about them because often we are dealing with things in our life or going through life, and we're operating, and you can just think of it simply, out of love or out of fear. Out of love, you're feeling content, you're feeling optimistic, hopeful, excited, hopeful anticipation, just content, and feeling like you have a giving spirit and you feel full. You sometimes hear like you can't pour from an empty cup. When you're operating out of love, you oftentimes feel full yourself. And so giving is like the second nature thing to do. And it feels good to be a part of different things and to be needed and all of that stuff. And that's usually just a catalyst for operating out of love and joy and contentment. When you're operating out of fear, the emotions that are stemming from fear usually look like these: anger, guilt, shame, overwhelm, resentment, rejection. And so those feelings usually evoke our way of handling our situations because they're strong emotions, and it causes us to have strong actions from those emotions. And so when we are really trying to figure out what we're dealing with, we kind of have to come back to this scenario. Am I operating out of love or out of fear? Because fear is not going to ever allow you to grow. It's never going to allow you to feel confident. It's never going to give you the place and the safety for being yourself, for pursuing things, for making changes, making tough decisions. Fear is always going to keep you held back. It's always going to hold you back. And it's always going to be something that takes a lot of energy to overcome. It is very easy to get caught into negative cycles and negative feelings and negative ways of thinking. And so to motivate yourself to change, you really need to ask yourself, like, why am I feeling this way? What am I fearful of? And oftentimes we can answer that question. We can avoid it. We can try and do things to mitigate it or not address it or not confront it. But often, if we ask ourselves, what are we fearful of? What am I fearful of? What am I fearful of? And you can typically rattle off the answer because we know innately what we don't like dealing with. We know if we're a person who doesn't like rejection. We know if we are a person that's overly anxious and worried. We know if we are fearful of having to deal with guilt or shame from something. And so these negative feelings are often tied to beliefs that we have learned to hold true about ourselves or about our circumstances. Like, that sort of thing doesn't happen for me. I could never be as blank, blank, blank as this person. I will never be as skilled as them. I don't have enough capability. I don't have enough, physical strength. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough finances. I could never measure up to that. I could never be that. I could never accomplish that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, worthy enough. I've never accomplished anything like that. I never could. I'm a failure. So you see how when we are operating from a place of fear, all these other beliefs can basically branch off from that and become truths that we live by. And so therefore we don't ever attempt anything because that fear is so pervasive in our belief system. Like, I'm never going to attempt that because I've told myself I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not helpful enough. I'm not, capable. I'm not worthy. So we've told ourselves these things because we're operating from a place of fear. And it takes a lot of work to break that cycle. It takes a lot of intention and focus and determination to tell yourself the real truth. And when I've had to combat truths that I have about myself, that I'm not capable, I am not smart enough, I'm not worthy enough, I have to get into the mode of thinking about who I am as Christ thinks about me. And you will notice a theme that often I come back to the truth, that the truth is our purpose and our reason for being here has nothing to do with our own skills or capability, because God has given us enough through Him to accomplish whatever purpose or goal He has set for us to accomplish. And He has given each of us a passion, a desire, a set of skills. Even if your skills don't look like someone else's, it doesn't mean you don't have any, or that yours aren't good enough or capable enough. We all have a set of skills. We all have our own way of managing our thoughts, managing our life. We all have had our own unique experiences and have gleaned our own unique set of truths and wisdom and evidence for things. And so what we bring to the table isn't like what anyone else brings to the table. And so the grounding I have found in who I am and the confidence and the strength that I need to accomplish that has always been knowing that I don't have to have all the same things as someone else, or I don't have to do all the same things as someone else. I just have to trust and believe and step out in faith and know that fear is not intended for me. God didn't intend us to live in this fearful mindset, in this fearful state, because there's so much opportunity. There is so much capability and so much light for us to capture and use and expend in our own little bubble, in our own little circumstance that we're living in. And we get to see how God uses that to accomplish His purpose for us. And when we are focused on Him and putting Him first and understanding His value of us, then we are automatically, engrafted in this confident mindset that it doesn't rely on our capabilities. Our accomplishments, are an act of faith and a part of the journey. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're struggling with an area of your life, if you are operating from a very negative, shameful, angry, overwhelmed, rejection, fueled type of mindset, you really need to step back and ask yourself, what am I scared of? What am I fearful of? Am I fearful of not meeting this expectation? Am I fearful of this person telling me no? Am I fearful of not accomplishing this? Am I scared that I could never be that, so I'm never going to try it? Am I worried that I'm not strong enough to handle this? Ask yourself, what am I fearful of? And get to the root of that, because you are capable, and there are so much truth tools, I'll call them truth tools, that God has given us to succeed in life. It doesn't mean exactly how we succeed looks the way we picture it. It doesn't mean that the journey there is going to be easy and light, and that's how we know it's the right way. Oftentimes what's right for us is birthed out of a lot of struggle, pain, and growth. And, the growth that comes from all of that. And so I think we have to ask ourselves, am I operating from a place of love, or am I operating from a place of fear? And really tackling those two emotions and seeing where those two emotions are playing out in your life, in what areas. Because some area you may have all the confidence and skill and capability, and you're comfortable there, and you're productive there, and you're producing there, and all that stuff. But then there could be another area that is just has been the same, has never changed, is this true struggle for you, causes you heartache and pain and all that stuff. And I will implore you to ask yourself about that situation. What are you fearful of? Because that is what is holding you back. Fear is invoking all these other emotions, all these negative emotions that are causing your actions. And one thing that is so true, and I have found to be true in my own life, in my own journey of things is that when you are operating from a negative place or a positive place, you will see things differently. So what do I mean by that? People talk about, creating life that you want, creating the life that you want by just imagining it and envisioning it. And what I will say to that is a lot of what God teaches us is that we have to be mindful of our thinking and our tongue. And that's because these two things and our heart, these three things are producing based on our emotions, based on what we're thinking. And so to have a productive, healthy, God-centered life, we have to have this, and this working correctly and operating from a positive place. If you're operating from a negative place, from negative thinking, from negative feelings, you are only going to be able to see all the negative in your life. And the opportunities that God does have in front of you, you will miss completely. You'll miss the boat on them because all your brain can focus on is what you're thinking about, all the negative feelings, all the negative self-talk, all the negative circumstances. And so that is all you see. It's kind of like the whole thing when, you buy a new car and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere you go. It didn't just all of a sudden you and, 3,000 other people just went and bought the same car and now you're driving the same route every day. It's just because you have this car, now you notice it, right? Because it's a part of your life and now you notice it. So if negative thinking is a part of your life, if fear and anger and overwhelm and rejection and all those, and guilt and shame and all those are playing in your mind, well, that's all you're going to see. You're just going to see the evidence of that in your life, and it's going to further cause you to believe that that's your story, that that's your journey, that's your cross to bear, so to speak. But if you really work on your mindset and work on thinking differently and being intentional with your thoughts, being intentional with what you're consuming, your mindset and your way of seeing things becomes different. You start seeing things more positively. You start recognizing opportunities that God has right in front of you to realize that dream, to change that bad habit, to, experience this or that you're hoping to have in your life. You see the opportunity right in front of you, something that you were blind to before. Emotions have a very strong ability to change our lives. And our emotions stem from our thinking. And so with that, correlation, your thoughts change your life. And it's that simple. It changes your emotions. It changes your actions that you take based on those emotions, and the results that you get in your life, the outcome that you have long term is a result of what you're thinking. So once I realized that and was able to change a lot of things that I was thinking about, and as a Christ follower, I'll be honest and say, a lot of my life was very selfish. I was just thinking about what could I do to make my life better? What could I accomplish? What makes me happy? But it's all about me, and that's where you get stuck because our flesh wants us to pursue what's instant gratification. And oftentimes that's not what God wants. And oftentimes it leads to things that we don't truly need in our lives, that we don't want in our lives, and, have to address. So I want to just encourage you that if you are in a place that you are dealing with a lot of negativity, you can't see the forest for the trees, can't see the trees for the forest, step back. Ask yourself, what am I fearful of? And see how those emotions have caused you to choose things in a certain way. And if you're wanting to change that, you got to start thinking differently. You have to start telling yourself the truth of what God says. You have to start reciting scripture over your life. You need to be praying every day. It doesn't have to be some formal, elaborate process. I pray all day in the midst of just normal making breakfast, cooking lunch, sweeping the floor, driving my car, working at my computer, it's just about keeping in your thoughts positive things. Yes, things are going to hurt. Yes, emotions are real, whether they're good or bad, but the point of them is to process them. not to allow them to become a truth about you. I'm just an angry person. I'm impatient. I'm always overwhelmed. I'm always depressed. I am. You really need to work on your I am statements. And so when we focus on love and fear, we're really able to see the actions of our lives and how that has changed. So I just want to challenge you, especially in this season, to think about what are the areas that you are operating out of fear. And you may not even realize you're fearful of something, but it may look like one of those other emotions that stem off of fear: anger, anxiety, rejection, guilt, shame. So think about if you're feeling those emotions and back that up, because those emotions are tied to fear of something. And you need to identify that to have a good grasp on how to bust through that and make a change. And you are always capable of change. The old adage that old dogs can't learn new tricks is a complete farce. And we can always change, always learn, always grow. And I want to encourage you in that. So I hope you guys have some food for thought to think about and journal it out if you need to. That always helps me to see my thoughts on paper and to go from that perspective. Okay, where's that fear coming from? And address that at the root. So that'll help you get a lot of effective change started. And we'll see you on your way to a more motivated way of thinking and ultimately having different results. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye for now.